I remember the exact moment she told me. We were sitting on the back porch, late spring, breeze soft, coffee still warm. She looked nervous, but in a sweet way, hands on her lap, eyes wide, like she was about to give me a gift she couldn't wait to unwrap herself. "I'm pregnant," she said. I stared at her, not because I didn't want it, but because I'd stopped imagining it was even possible. "Adam," she smiled, placing her hand on mine, "you're going to be a father." It should have been the happiest moment of my life. I'm 38 years old. I've spent the last decade building a quiet life, running my late father's construction company, staying out of trouble, keeping to myself. I wasn't chasing anything flashy. I just wanted peace. Maybe a family. Maybe a chance to fix what my parents broke. And then came Rachel. We met the year before at a community fundraiser. She was magnetic, beautiful, smart, emotionally tuned in. She worked in real estate and seemed to know everyone in town. People liked her. More importantly, she made me feel seen. The relationship moved fast. Dinners turned into weekends. Weekends turned into drawer space. I didn't mind. I liked coming home to someone. I liked her routines. I liked how she touched my arm when she said my name. I liked feeling like I finally belonged in someone's picture of the future. So, when she said she was pregnant, I didn't hesitate. "I'm in," I told her. "Whatever you need, whatever this takes, we're in it together." She cried. I held her. We talked about names, about nurseries, about how to tell her parents, who weren't exactly thrilled she was dating an older man with a blue-collar background and a dog named Rusty who sheds on everything. Over the next few weeks, we made plans. We looked at bigger places. She asked me to open a joint savings account for baby expenses. I didn't question it. I trusted her. That was my first mistake. Looking back, there were signs. Not flashing neon lights, but small, flickering warnings. Like how she dodged doctor's appointments, said she was going with a private clinic. How she never let me come inside when I picked her up from her office. Or how every time I asked how far along she was, her answers shifted by a week or two. But I didn't press. You don't want to be the guy who questions the woman carrying your child. Still, something settled uneasily in my gut the day we had dinner with her parents. They were unusually kind to me, like actors playing the part of doting in-laws. Her father, who once called me the construction guy with calluses and a bad pickup, was now asking about college funds. Her mother hugged me on the way out, twice. Rachel gripped my hand as we walked to the car. "They're finally coming around," she whispered. But her hand was cold. That night, while she was in the shower, her phone buzzed twice on the counter. I didn't mean to look, but her screen lit up with a notification. "Your results are ready. Tap to view confidential DNA panel." My chest tightened. DNA panel. I didn't open it. I didn't touch the phone. But something inside me shifted. I wasn't sure what I was looking at yet, but I knew one thing for sure. This wasn't the gift she made it out to be. I couldn't sleep that night. Not because of the text. At least, that's what I told myself. I chalked it up to caffeine, to stress, to a million little things that didn't matter. But the truth? That notification was burned into my mind like a brand. Your results are ready. Tap to view confidential DNA panel. I kept asking myself, what kind of DNA test would she be doing without telling me? I didn't bring it up the next morning. Rachel was glowing, making pancakes, humming along to some indie song on her phone like we were the cover couple of a parenting magazine. I kissed her forehead, drank my coffee, and went to work like nothing was wrong. But something was. The little things that once made me feel loved started to feel rehearsed, mechanical. Her laughs were a beat too fast. Her reassurances felt copy-pasted. She began texting more at night, keeping her phone face down. When I offered to go with her to a prenatal appointment the following week, she said, "It's just a blood test. Boring stuff. You'd hate it." I didn't hate boring. I hated being shut out. I asked my buddy Jake about it. He's a family doctor. I told him a hypothetical situation. A woman gets a DNA panel during pregnancy. What's it for? He raised an eyebrow. Well, could be checking for genetic disorders, but more often it's a paternity test. The words hit harder than I expected. Paternity test. So now I was a hypothetical? Jake kept talking, but I wasn't really listening. All I could think was, why would Rachel get a paternity test unless she had a reason to doubt who the father was? That night, I stared at her phone as it lay on the nightstand charging. I didn't touch it. I didn't snoop. I just looked at it like it was some kind of bomb waiting to go off. The next day, I left work early. I told the crew I had a family thing. Maybe that was true. I drove to the address Rachel had given me for her OBGYN. It was real. There was a small clinic on the corner of Maple and 3rd. I walked in, pretending to be lost. When the receptionist asked if I needed help, I said, "Yeah, my wife, Rachel Blake, had an appointment this morning. I think she left her wallet." The receptionist smiled politely. "We don't have anyone by that name on file." I blinked. "Are you sure?" She double-checked. "No Rachel Blake, no appointment today. Sorry." I left the clinic with my heart pounding and my stomach turning. I sat in my truck across the street for a good 20 minutes just staring at the building, trying to make sense of what I'd just heard. She lied. About the appointment. About the clinic. So what else? Back at home, she acted like everything was normal. She asked how my day was, told me hers was uneventful. I nodded, smiled, lied right back. Later that evening, she mentioned her cousin would be in town and might stay with us for a few nights. I nodded again. But inside, I wasn't listening. I was watching. Her words, her body language, her silences. And that's when I saw it. She opened her laptop to check something, and for a brief moment, before the screen dimmed, I saw the tab. Non-invasive prenatal paternity testing. Confidential. Fast results. My heart dropped. I didn't say a word. Not yet. Because now I wasn't just suspicious. Now I needed proof. By then, everything she said sounded rehearsed. Rachel could still smile, still laugh at the right moments, still lay her head on my chest at night like she used to. But it all felt hollow, like she was performing a version of the woman I once knew, and I was done clapping. I didn't confront her, not yet. Instead, I became methodical. I started taking mental notes, what time she left for appointments, how long she was gone, when her mood shifted. I was building a case, not for a courtroom, but for myself. For the moment I would finally ask, what the hell is going on? A week later, I came home early from a supplier meeting. I was supposed to be out of town until 6. She didn't expect me until dinner. I pulled into the driveway. No car. The house was quiet. I walked inside. Her laptop was open on the kitchen counter. That alone was odd. Rachel never left her electronics out unattended. I didn't plan to snoop. I really didn't. But something about the way the screen lit up when I touched the mouse, it felt like an invitation. A browser window was open. Gmail. Not her main inbox. A burner account. And there it was. Subject line. Your paternity test results are ready. I froze. My hands shook. She had opened the email, downloaded the file, but she hadn't deleted it. I clicked on it. The file didn't load fully. It was already saved on her desktop under a generic name, report_final.pdf. She had tried to hide it in plain sight. I didn't open it. I copied it. I put it on a USB drive I kept on my keychain for job site blueprints. Then I closed the laptop and stepped away like it had bitten me. I wasn't ready to read it. Not yet. She came home 15 minutes later, acting like everything was fine. Kissed my cheek, complained about parking downtown, said the ultrasound technician was so sweet. I nodded. I smiled. I lied again. That night, after she fell asleep, I sat in my truck in the garage with the windows cracked and the laptop open across my knees. It was cold. The air smelled like sawdust and motor oil. I opened the file. 2 pages. Clinical formatting. Patient Rachel Blake. Sample collected 6 weeks ago. Fetal DNA matched with maternal DNA. Confirmed. Fetal DNA matched with alleged father Adam Blake. Excluded. I read it 3 times. Excluded. Not a margin of error. Not inconclusive. Just cold, typed certainty. I was not the father. I don't remember closing the laptop. I don't remember getting out of the truck. But I remember sitting on the steps of the garage, staring at the floor for what felt like hours. She had lied. About the appointments. About the pregnancy. About me. But what struck me most wasn't the betrayal. It was the planning. She had taken a DNA test without telling me, had the results in her hands for weeks, and yet, every morning, she kissed me like I was the future. She let me build cribs and pick out names. She was playing a part in a story where I was the punchline. But here's the thing Rachel didn't know about me. I don't explode. I don't scream. I don't lose control. I take my time. And when I strike, it's silent, surgical, precise. The next morning, I made her breakfast. 2 eggs, toast, her favorite raspberry jam, and coffee with oat milk, just how she liked it. She smiled when I brought it to her in bed. "You're sweet," she said, rubbing her eyes. "What's the occasion?" I kissed her forehead. "Just felt like being good to the mother of my child." She beamed. That sentence used to mean something. Now it tasted like ash. But I needed her to believe I was still all in, until I wasn't. I had read the test 5 times by then. I printed a hard copy and locked it in the drawer of my desk at work. I didn't want to risk her finding it. I had questions, big ones, but the answers wouldn't come from her mouth. Not yet. She was too good at smiling through lies. So I set things in motion. First, I called my lawyer, Mark Stevens. He's a no-nonsense type who once dissolved an entire business partnership with a 2-paragraph letter and a well-placed silence. I told him I might need a paternity-related consultation soon. I didn't give details. Custody issue? Something like that, I said. "You're bringing me into the game early. That's smart," he replied. "Most guys call me when it's already burning. Let's keep it cold. Controlled burn." Then I called my accountant, told him to remove Rachel from the beneficiary clause in my will and take her off the emergency contact list for the company. Again, no questions, just action. I've learned that professionals ask less when you sound certain. By Thursday, I had moved all shared finances into a new personal account, quietly, legally, cleanly. Rachel didn't notice, or if she did, she didn't ask. The next step was the part I hated most. I pretended. I went shopping for baby stuff with her, let her hold up onesies to my chest. I nodded when she said she wanted a natural birth and a midwife. I even took a selfie with her in the aisle of a baby store so she could post it on Instagram with the caption, "Building a little Blake." The irony nearly choked me. But I needed everyone to believe I was the man she described, the loyal, loving, unsuspecting partner, because the more the world believed her version of the story, the sharper the impact would be when I told mine. And I wasn't just thinking about friends or family. I was thinking about courtrooms. You see, Rachel didn't just lie to me. She was trying to trap me financially. In our state, if I signed the birth certificate, I'd be legally responsible for the child, even if later proven not to be the biological father. That's why she was pushing so hard for the illusion. Marriage, joint financials, commitment. She didn't need me as a partner. She needed me as a target. So I stayed quiet, but I started recording things. Conversations, texts, voice memos of what she said when no one else was around. And then the final piece fell into place. Late one night, after a fake fight with a friend, Rachel left her phone unlocked and stormed into the shower. I waited until the water started running, then I picked it up and opened the email again, this time digging into the reply thread. That's when I found him. A string of messages, deleted from her main inbox but still floating in the trash, between Rachel and a man named Elliot Harper, a former boyfriend, recently divorced, works in finance, lives 2 towns over. Her last message to him? It's handled. Adam has no idea. She was right. I didn't have an idea. I had a plan.
I didn't confront her with shouting. I didn't hurl accusations or demand answers. That would have given her control, allowed her to spin things, twist the narrative. No, I wanted her off balance. I wanted her to reveal herself. And so I waited. A week passed. I acted the same, cooked dinners, rubbed her shoulders, talked about paint colors for the nursery that would never exist. She stayed sweet, glowing, confident. She thought she had me, completely. Then came Saturday. We had dinner at home, grilled salmon, garlic rice, and the salad she always overdressed. Afterward, I suggested we sit on the couch and go through some baby stuff. I brought over a folder, one that looked like it held receipts and checklists, but inside was everything. I handed it to her with a smile. I thought we should finally organize this together. She opened the folder. The first page was the DNA test. She froze. Her fingers stopped moving. Her breath caught in her throat like a glitch in the system. I watched her carefully, not angrily, not even coldly, just quietly. She looked up. "What is this?" I said. "You tell me." She tried to flip past it. I didn't let her. I pulled the page back. "You've had this for weeks, haven't you?" Silence. "Rachel." Still nothing. Just that wide-eyed look of someone who's used to talking her way out of everything, but realizes the room has no exits. I leaned forward. "You told me I was the father. You smiled. You cried. You let me believe it. I was scared. I didn't know how to tell you. You didn't plan to tell me. You planned to trap me." Her lips parted, but no words came. "I've seen the messages, Rachel. Elliot Harper. It's handled. Adam has no idea." Her face changed completely, like a mask sliding off. "You went through my phone? You lied about everything. You planned to make me legally responsible for a child that isn't mine?" Her eyes narrowed. The performance was gone. "Fine. You want the truth?" I panicked. I didn't know who the father was. But you're safe, stable. Kind of boring, honestly, but reliable. You would have done the right thing. I stared at her. "You were the fallback plan?" she added, like it justified everything. It didn't. I said, "You forged a life on a lie, and you were willing to keep me in it forever?" She crossed her arms. "So what now? You going to leave? Go tell your lawyer? Sue me for emotional distress?" I stood up. "No, I'm going to let you pack." She blinked. "What?" "You'll leave tonight. I already took your name off the accounts, the will, everything. The apartment lease is in my name. There's nothing here for you to hold on to." "You're kicking out a pregnant woman?" "I'm telling a liar. She's no longer welcome in my life."
She stood up, face flushed. "You're making a huge mistake, Adam." I shook my head. "The mistake was trusting you. Fixing it, that starts now." She didn't argue further. Maybe she saw in my face there was no window to crawl through. She packed 2 bags. No drama, no final act. She left without saying goodbye. And as the door closed, I didn't feel rage. I felt clarity. But I wasn't done yet. Not even close. Because there was still Elliot Harper, and I had a message for him, too.
I waited until Monday. No calls, no texts. Rachel was radio silent. I assumed she thought disappearing would make me lose steam, that if she gave me a few days to cool off, I'd come crawling back, willing to negotiate some warped version of peace. She didn't know me at all. While she stayed quiet, I stayed focused. Elliot Harper. I started with what I already had: his name, job, city. It wasn't hard. A guy like him wants to be found. His LinkedIn was polished. His company website had his smiling face right next to a list of awards and sales targets. I called his office, asked for him by name, told the receptionist I was from Adams & Blake Contracting, which, in a way, wasn't entirely false. She patched me through. "Elliot Harper?" he answered, cheerful and polished. "Mr. Harper," I said, "my name's Adam Blake. I think we need to talk." Silence. It lasted longer than I expected. Then he said, "I'm sorry, who?" "You don't know me, but you know Rachel." Another pause, but this one sharper. "What about her?" "I'm not here to make a scene. I'm not calling to fight. I just think we should clear a few things up." He cleared his throat. "Look, if you're trying to get something from me, I don't owe you anything." "You're right, you don't. But you do have something I want." "And what's that?" "The truth." That seemed to throw him off more than anything else. The fact that I wasn't yelling, that I wasn't threatening, just calmly, surgically asking him to own what he already knew. "I have the DNA results. I'm not the father. And unless Rachel's been seeing someone else, that narrows things down to you." He didn't respond. "I'm not calling to shame you," I added. "This isn't about revenge. It's about understanding what really happened before I decide what happens next." He let out a breath. "She told me you'd never find out." She was wrong. Another pause. Then finally, "Yes, it's mine. At least, I think it is. Look, it wasn't supposed to go that far. We reconnected. It was one night." "Then why the messages? Why it's handled? Why was she trying to trap me into being the legal father?" "She said you were stable, that you'd give the kid a better life, that I wasn't ready." "She said you were divorced, but I saw your ring in one of those photos she saved. You weren't divorced, just cheating, like her." He didn't deny it. I continued. "She wanted me on the hook so you could stay clean, but I'm not a placeholder, Elliot. I don't raise other men's lies." Silence again. "I'm not coming after you," I added. "But if she tries to name me on that birth certificate, if she tries to make me pay for a child that isn't mine, you're going to hear from me and from my lawyer and from the judge." He exhaled. "I don't want any of this. I didn't sign up for—" "You did. The moment you knew she was pregnant and stayed quiet, you signed up. So don't play the victim now." I hung up before he could answer. I didn't need an apology. I didn't even need closure. I needed a clean cut. I called Mark, my lawyer, and told him to move forward with the paternity affidavit. We filed paperwork that same afternoon to legally document that I was not the father and that I declined any claim or responsibility. It was clean, it was sharp, it was legal. And just like that, Rachel's little plan, the house of cards she built on charm, timing, and a faked future, collapsed. But I wasn't quite done. There was still one final conversation I needed to have. With her. Face to face.
She texted me the following Friday. "We should talk. I owe you that." Part of me wanted to ignore it, leave her in the silence she'd earned. But closure isn't just for the guilty, it's for the honest, too. I needed to say the words, needed to see her, hear them. We agreed to meet at a park halfway between her sister's place and mine. Neutral ground, public, safe. I arrived early, sat on a bench beneath an old elm tree. The wind was soft, cold, appropriate. She arrived 10 minutes late. Same walk, same perfume, same practiced sadness in her eyes. "Hi," she said, like it was any other day. I nodded. "Rachel." She sat beside me, but not too close. I noticed she wasn't wearing the engagement ring anymore. "I didn't come here to fight," she said quickly. "Good," I replied, "because there's nothing left to fight over." She hesitated. "I made mistakes." "That's a generous way to describe what you did." She looked away, then back. "I didn't mean to hurt you. I really didn't. At the beginning, I thought maybe it was yours. I wanted it to be. And when it wasn't, I panicked," she whispered. "I thought if I told you, I'd lose everything." "You never had everything," I said. "You had a version of me, a man you could control, who'd nod and smile while you built a life out of lies. That's not fair." "What's not fair," I said, turning to face her, "is being told I'm going to be a father, only to find out I was just a backup plan. You weren't scared, Rachel. You were calculating." She didn't deny it. "You got the results, and instead of telling me the truth, you doubled down. You smiled. You made baby name lists. You asked me to open accounts, sign papers, invest in a future that wasn't even real. I thought you'd be a better father than him. Elliot's a mess. I don't care about Elliot. I care about the fact that you were willing to bind me to a child that wasn't mine, legally and financially, just to make your life easier." She looked down. "I was desperate." "No," I said. "You were entitled. You thought you could build a lie and sell it with a smile. But here's the part you didn't calculate." She looked up. "I don't stay where I'm not wanted, and I don't build on broken ground." We sat in silence for a few moments. Wind stirred the leaves beneath our feet. I filed the affidavit. "You won't be able to name me on the certificate. My lawyer has everything. It's done." Tears welled in her eyes, but I didn't flinch. "You won't hear from me again, but if you try to drag my name back into this, even once, I'll come back with more than paperwork." She wiped her cheek, nodding slowly. "You really did love me, didn't you?" I stood. "I loved the version of you I thought was real. Turns out she never existed." I turned and walked away. No dramatics, no lingering glances, no regrets. And as I left that park, I didn't feel empty. I felt clean.
I didn't hear from her again. No surprise visits, no follow-up texts, no desperate voicemails at midnight. Just silence. And silence, I've learned, can be a gift. The weeks that followed were quiet. I cleared out the nursery items, boxed up the tiny clothes we'd picked together, donated them to a local shelter. The crib? I took it apart piece by piece and stored the wood in the back of the garage. I couldn't bring myself to burn it, but I wouldn't build with it either. Some things just don't deserve a second use. Work helped. I buried myself in projects, poured concrete with focus, cut lumber with precision, solved design problems with the kind of clarity that only comes after surviving emotional war. And strangely, the business grew. Maybe it was word of mouth. Maybe it was the way I carried myself differently, calmer, sharper, unshakable. But clients came in steady waves. Contractors trusted me. New homeowners asked for me by name. Even my crew said they'd never seen me more locked in. Truth is, I wasn't just rebuilding projects. I was rebuilding me. For a while, I avoided dating. I wasn't angry or bitter, just tired, emotionally tired. Trust isn't something you give away freely after someone tries to use your future like a bargaining chip. But healing happens in quiet ways. It's in the routines, the dog walks, the meals you make for yourself, the playlist that plays when the house is finally, beautifully, your own again. It's in the way your bed feels when no one's lying beside you planning your downfall. One morning, I brewed coffee and sat on the porch with Rusty curled at my feet. Sun was low, air was crisp, and for the first time in months, I didn't think about Rachel. I didn't think about what almost was or what could have been. I thought about how far I'd come, how I almost signed a document that would have chained me to a lie for the rest of my life, how I almost believed a performance so perfect it nearly rewrote the truth. And in the end, I didn't let it. Some people think revenge is loud, explosive, the kind you see in movies. But real revenge? It's quiet, clean, legal, and final. It's watching someone's plan fall apart without ever raising your voice. It's standing in the wreckage they created and choosing not to rebuild it for them. Rachel moved on. Last I heard, she'd moved closer to her sister. She kept the baby. I don't know if she ever told Elliot the full truth or if he stuck around. That's not my business anymore. She lost me, not because I wanted to punish her, but because I finally respected myself enough to walk away. So if you're listening to this wondering if staying quiet was weakness, if not exploding makes you a fool, let me be clear. I'm still here. My business is thriving. My peace is intact. And my name is not on that birth certificate.